Heyo, duckies and dice fiends, welcome in. It is Tuesday, and that means it's time for the Table Talk Show. Rex, thank you so much for the resub. 38 months is redonkulous. Thank you. I have moved stuff around on my desk, and I don't know where my heart hands are. And ha. Thank you, Rex, so much. Also, thank you to everyone who came by this weekend for the Keep Ducky Afloat stream, because well, I'll let David talk about that in a moment. But yes, it is Tuesday. I am Kay. I am one of your hosts. We are going to be talking about shopping today. No, not online shopping. Not doing that.
Technically, depending on what type of game you're running, it is online shopping.
Could be online shopping. But we're talking about shopping in TTRPGs, an idea floated by David, which I think is great. Rex is talking. Oh no, I better go recover the body. Welcome on in, Matt. Thank you for hanging out. Yeah, I'm Kay. I'm here doing this. I will not be available Friday for Weird Wilds War. That might be happening over on Entropy Emporium. I have not gotten a thumbs up or thumbs down for that. I have more stuff happening that I'll be able to... Oh, I can talk about soon. Hey, DC, welcome on in. I am going to be part of... It has been announced, so I could say a little bit. I'm going to be part of a D&D Classic 5e podcast that I get to record a prologue for here this week, and I'm very excited about. Going to be playing Sully, who is a soul knife rogue, and it's all going to be fine, I'm sure. Coming up on Wednesday, this Wednesday, if you subscribe to our Patreon, the following Wednesday, the 15th. Otherwise, season 4 of the Emergency Power Podcast is going to premiere. I am so excited for you all get to experience this Starfinder 1E adventure, and the final chapter in Soul's little drama. So that is what we have going on here. I'm hopefully going to have some stuff to talk about soon. Things are going to be wild. But we will deal with that when I have answers, which is hashtag not today Satan. So David, who the heck is you and what the heck is we doing here?
I had such a delightful time on Saturday with South of Midnight and all of you. And also, thank you very, very much. We've hit all of our goals, which means I have to play Default Dan. And I have to play a spooky game on stream. I mean, because we hit our last goal, that means that
hey, Puddleglum,
everyone who donated more than $100 gets a Steam key for a game, and we'll be rolling that out at some point, because I got to coordinate with the source of the keys, and then with Kay, and then with the people. But you will get your game. I will make sure you get your game. But that also means we have to run a poll for what scary game I'm going to play. Yeah.
That is also correct. Rex reminded me. I have not just one, but 3 panels I get to talk about. And David has a couple as well. I'm going to go through the other 2 first because I can find them more quickly, and then we'll talk about... PAX Unplugged. David and I are going to be on the Don't Kill My Vibe panel, which is going to be November 23rd at noon in Crab God. That is going to be with Minta Lamia, Alex Sky, Lauren Urban, Nala J. Wu, David, and myself. And we're talking about like how... the nuances of addressing or not addressing when something is problematic. And, sometimes we enjoy engaging with problematic themes, and sometimes we need to back away from problematic themes. We're also going to be on Accountability Rated E for Everyone. That's going to be with Jeremy Cobb, Alexis Sky, myself and David, Italamia, and Heather Sylvia. And it's going to be, talk about accountability and how do we make things right in this space when bad things happen. when we misbehave, when we say something or do something that hurts someone else, whether we meant to or not, because it is not, we are all going to mess up. We are all going to hurt someone. And it is less about what you did. It's more about how you handle it and how you move forward. And I'm so sorry. Oh, here it is. I found it. And then, did I say when that one was going to be? I don't think I did. I'll scroll back up for that. And then, on November 22nd at noon, I'm going to again be in Crab God Theater with Brian Gray, Candace the Magnificent, Eugenio, DM Jazzy Hands, Elizabeth Farah, and Ryan Green, Rex Verde, for So Your Friends Have Suckered You Into Running a Game. What now? How do you get that going? I'm really looking forward to that discussion. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then E for Accountability, E for Everyone is going to be November 22nd at 6 p.m. in Crab God. So I'm just living in Crab. Oh no, wait. Yeah, yes. He's being Crab God. I'm just living in Crab God. This PAX Unplugged, apparently. That's just it's just how that is, apparently. 3, yes. Yes, I am very excited that I get to do these panels. I thank everyone who invited me to them, and I get to do a bunch with David. You won't be at PAX U this year. Oh, I'm so sad. Well, DC, I am also sad you will not get to meet David. But I hope you take care of yourself, and I hope the FOMO is not too terribly bad. I will be a little crabby. Yes, definitely.
And I'll get to meet you next year.
And I know that Mimics and Misfits Matt will also be here, be at PAX, running a game. If, if anyone wants to check out a little something that Matt has been working on, maybe check that out. You will be doing the thing, and I'm very excited. I have to add all of those to the scroller for break screens. I have forgotten to do that and take out Star Wars one because that one's now over. But that was amazing. We smashed through our goals. Thank you all so much to everyone who came through Star Wars. So, okay, anything else we need to cover? I feel like, whew. Hey, Zykram, welcome on in. But yes, thank you again, everyone who showed up Saturday to support David. I was there for a chunk of it, not all of it, for reasons. It was so exciting to come back and see the goals smashed, and I so appreciate you all. Thank you for helping take care of my best friend.
And I probably will be streaming on Saturday just because South of Midnight is such a brilliant game. But keep an eye on the Discord for when we will announce when the default Dan stream is happening and when the horror game stream is happening.
I kind of want to demand, no, Saturday you're playing Default Dan just because I want to be entertained. I am so excited for this. I can't.
Okay, well, you heard it here first. Saturday, I'm at least playing some Default Dan.
I feel like this is going to be a game where you're going to play a while and have to quit. But yes, South of Midnight has been fantastic to watch, and oh my god, the music.
South of Midnight got me making between the game and the fact that the weather has finally turned a little bit cooler, and by a little bit cooler I mean it was below 85 for once because y'all, I missed the entire winter last year. The whole winter I was not at home, and so since I moved to where I live now, it's just been hot. It's just been ball-breakingly hot the whole time. Y'all can't hear it, but every single episode of the talk show that I've done in this space, my air conditioner's been running. So I am really looking, but it's got me it's got me wanting to make a big old pot of gumbo. And my godbrother pulled out a big old pot that would be perfect for making gumbo. So I think there might be a gumbo in the next week or two. We shall see. Actually, yeah, it'll depend on what Kay's schedule is like, but there may be a gumbo for when Kay and I get together to do with him.
I can trade you gumbo for pumpkin bars.
I mean, well, you got to bring pumpkin bars anyway because my godbrother.
Alex has never had a pumpkin bar, I don't think.
Right.
All right. Imagine finding us here, right? All right. So, it's hilarious. The soundtrack just did the little door jingling bell over the door jingling as you open it, as I was about to transition to. Let's talk about a pumpkin bar. I have a now infamous recipe for pumpkin bars. That it's like a cakey bottom with a pumpkin butter thing and then a crumble on top, and it is obscene. I have made these for people and gotten incredible favors, and people just offering, what can I do to get you to make some more for me? They're infamous. They're terrible for you. They're delicious. They taste amazing. But don't ask me, ask David.
They are decadent. And the fact that Trader Joe's doesn't have pumpkin butter year round is a crime because of it.
Yes. I had to travel 2 hours via public trans for a thing. And it's a little bit early. And across the street from where I had to get off was a Trader Joe's. And I'm like, it's September 30th. I'll bet they have pumpkin butter. And they did. And now everyone in my life will win. So, we're going to talk about shopping in TTRPGs. Shopkeepers, magic items, what you allow your players to gear themselves up with and what you don't, etc., etc. And yes. David, it was your idea, so I'm letting you lead this.
So, okay. My first thought about shopping in TTRPGs is murder hobos, because if it hasn't happened to you yet, at some point you'll have a table and you will have a merchant that you have in mind. It'll be like a sweet old lady or like an ex-wizard or just somebody. And your party's going to walk in there, look around, start knocking shit over and being like, I want this for free. You know what? Don't give it to me for free. Pay me to take it from you. And it's like, well, that's a dragon slaying sword. That's like 1200 GP. And they're like, no. You don't understand. You're going to give me 1,000 gold to take this from you or else. And then the whole building is on fire. And you got a bunch of NPCs dead. And you got your players cackling into the wind.
Matt Mimics the Misfits asks, how many shopkeepers can you rob or kill before the town bans you? Asking for a tired GM.
I've told this story on stream before, but in my very first TTRPG, the GM was like, if you take an affliction, I'll give you like some sort of benefit. So the wizard in our party was like, well, I'm an alcoholic. And one of the aspects of his alcoholism is that as he continued to drink, his percentage chance of randomly casting a spell increased. Well, whenever we rocked up to a town, we always had a fight before, and so he queued up Fireball in all of his Fireball's level 2, right?
Oh, 3? I don't know.
Level 3.
Oh.
But in all of the relevant spell slots, he had a Fireball queued up. And so the way it would go is he would roll to see if this drink made him randomly cast. And every drink he had, the DC went up. And then once he did, he rolled it was like a D6 divided by 2 or like a D4 or something to determine what slot it came from. And then if he had a number of slots, then he would roll again to see which slot it cast from. And for 3 towns in a row, it was Fireball the first time. And I remember the second town, the first drink he had, he was stone cold sober, halfway down a pint, boom, Fireball, sets the place on fire. So we are headed towards another town. We're walking up, the guards see us, whisper to each other, they're like, we can't let you in. And it's like, what do you mean? It's like, that one, that guy right there, that guy who blows up taverns, can't have that happen here. And we ended up bribing them to let us in. And then when we made it to the tavern, they're like, you absolutely can't get in. And so we tried to bribe the tavern because he also needed a drink because he was an alcoholic. And we couldn't bribe. So we ended up fighting the guard. And then we had to like fight our way inside to steal beer. It was a whole thing. But as we've talked about on the channel before, your players, their actions should influence the world. And so if they're goody goodies, then good things should happen to them. And if they're assholes, then maybe people don't like them so much.
Rex says, all my shopkeepers are retired adventurers. My players behave when they shop. I love the half ogre Taylor, who talks like Tim Gunn from Project Runway and is very gossipy.
And yeah, one of the ways that I've done something similar, because I always stick an NPC in my game that is of mysterious origin, mysterious power, and near infinite knowledge. Because if the players ever hit a roadblock, then they could go to this person and be like, okay, so what do we do? Like, what does this mean? And then that person could either give them a direct answer or say something cryptic that points them in the right direction. But it is a storytelling emergency, not break.
Get out of free card.
You know, right. And I always have them do something where players who know the game and know the spells are like, okay, a wizard can't do that, a sorcerer can't do that, and a warlock can't do that. How are they? But they're very obviously a wizard. How are they doing that? Or, I don't know, that really seems like they very casually cast a 9th level spell with 2,000 GP components for funsies.
Yeah.
What is going on here? Because we want to encourage them to engage with your game in a sensible way. Because not everybody's knocking over a 7-Eleven every time they need a candy bar.
Yeah. And one thing I really appreciate about David's GMing is he's all like, everyone gets a magic item at start. You don't get to be ridiculous, right? But you can have a lot of fun with that. And as Cato replied to the tweet, this is about to be known as the barrel episode.
Right. And so like that's another like your first intro to shopping in D&D is what stuff you start with. Because I was looking it over a couple months ago, fresh out of the hospital, and it's like there's an expectation by I think level 5 that you have a magic weapon and that you can do magic damage, because CR5 is when you start getting monsters that are either resistant to non-magical damage or immune to non-magical damage. I think it was looking up stuff for Burton specifically, where I was like, damn, by level 5, you got like a lot of money. Oh, you got a lot of money. It's like 1,200 GP or something like that. Just a stupid amount of money. Like down payment on a house kind of money. And it really got me thinking, because a lot of magical items aren't that expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could get a pretty funsy, like uncommon magical item for 50 GP, mm-hmm. which for us commoners is a lot of money. Like that's like buying a used motorcycle. But when you're a level 5 adventurer with 1,200 GP, he's like, here you go.
Yeah,
that's no problem. And so part of the joy of people making their characters, especially in the age of like, you have D&D Beyond, where you go and click a bunch of things and then you're done. And there is something to be said about like back in the day, like poring over the books, really like digging into the feats and like really reading everything instead of being like, okay, click, 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 we're done. Right. 50 GP is like a year of comfortable living. Like, I think if I remember correctly, it was like the aristocrat background meant that you spent a gold a day on living expenses, which it's like, to put it in perspective, a gold a day is like having a nice room in Vegas on a weekend during peak season and ordering room service every meal. Like, it's that kind of decadent is a GP. So like for like 2 silver a day, you're living really good. Like, it's not I'm getting filet mignon every meal, but you know, it's burger and fries whenever you want.
You're not checking the bank account before you buy a thing.
Right. Okay, so I'm really glad. The question is, so a GP is like a grand more. I really like this question because I've spent a lot of time thinking about the real world equivalency of.
We have gotten lectures of that is like this amount, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't know, man. It's a gold.
So, to the best of my math and the best of my research, a gold piece is 250 US. I don't know what that is in like British. But so if something is like, okay, Electrum, listen. If you are at the point where you're dealing with
186.
Thank you. Great British pounds.
GBP.
If you are dealing with Electrum and Platinum and all that, we're all just going to convert it back to gold. That's what we're all going to do. And will I ever pull out, someone paid you an Electrum just to make K do math? Absolutely.
David has already discovered that if David comes up with weird fucky, do a bunch of math conversions thing, K just does not participate.
Yep. Do I still cook them up? Absolutely. Is it a futile effort? Yes. Is it still hilarious? Also absolute.
Like, you cool, have fun with that. You will overcharge me and swindle me anyway and anytime you want, because I would rather my character be swindled than deal with this shit.
So when you say to, you know, your players, listen, the rules say this, the rules say that, you get 600, like if you're level 5 character, you get 600 GP, go nuts. And you can't get any magic item over uncommon. And you end up with people getting really, really interesting magic items. Like if I remember, Kay and another player for the test game that we're running, we're like, okay, so I'm gonna get this thing. And I was like, okay, that's great. And I did like a day later, they're like, actually, what I want is this other thing. I'm like, okay, that's great. And then the next day they're like, so I've been thinking, and actually I want this thing. And each time I read the description of the item and I'm like, that's gonna be pretty diabolical. I'm gonna have a hard time with that. And then the next one, it's like, that's really diabolical. I'm really gonna have a hard time with that. And then the next one is like, this is just gonna break everything. Like, how is this 25 GP? This is gonna break everything. Which circles back to the Barrelmancy story that I told 2 weeks ago, last week.
Yep.
Motherfucker was like, how many things are here? And I'm like, oh, there are 3 things in front of you. They're like, boop, 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 barrel. And I'm like, God damn it.
There is a literal ring of barrels, and you can summon up to 6 barrels per day, 3 at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were dealing with a bunch of like ghoul, little terrible undead things that were trying to eat us, and it was like, well, 3 of them are now in a barrel. Ring of Donkey Kong, exactly. That's what we're calling it from now on.
Yep. So, as GM, give your players a free uncommon magic item. because just the joy of combing through the magic items and picking something that works for your character or that moves your character's story in a different direction or gives your character a flair is going to be worth the cost of admission. And then on top of that, they actually get to use it in the game and break whatever the fuck you're doing.
And like, yes, a lot of people will just go to, what is it, RPG bot, whatever, and just be like, what is the ideal, right? What's the optimal? But like, sometimes you'll get people going, I work in a tavern, so I want a ring of barrels so I can just always have barrels to put ale in, right? And I went with something, like I went with the Lucky Stone, which I might trade out because I keep forgetting to use it, because it just... But it felt so correct. Actually, what if I say, well, because I'm thinking it might be cute if that's what I built day around. But like this character Burton is just very simple, good-hearted, down to earth, you know, very simple, and like it felt narratively correct for them to just find a lucky rock. And it turns out, no, this lucky rock is actually lucky and it adds +1 to basically everything. But they have no idea. It's just...
Mimics and Memphis, me and my never-ending jar of mayo against the world. So yeah, so for those of you who don't know, there is a magic item, and I forget what it's called, but it's like once a day, you get like 10 charges or something. And I think it's like a flask, or it's some sort of container. And it's like a D10 on what comes out. And one of them is mayo. And the fact that I can't fathom what you would want 10 charges of mayonnaise for.
I mean, I sent you the sandwich cake. Hey, Youngles, welcome in.
Okay.
We are derailed. Everyone settle down.
There are use cases for 10 charges of mayonnaise. None of them are safe for stream. Not one.
Alchemy
jug.
Oh my
god, you know what the...
Alchemy jug is...
Yeah, alchemy jug.
Hey, Lurking Rider, welcome on in.
But like, definitely, well, actually, I could do... Okay, so I'm starting to think of things you could use 10 charges of mayo for. But the point is, the fact that it took me that long means that some player is going to come up with something absolutely diabolical. Just something so full of audacity and temerity that I will have to get up and walk away from my computer and take a fucking lap around my house before I could deal with the consequences of what they've done with this mayo.
David loves to hate food crimes.
Oh, yeah.
And someone in a server I'm in posted a YouTube short about the sandwich cake, which is loaves of bread sliced this way, piled up with like... What it was like salmon and shrimp,
like fish, shrimp,
and and like all this stuff, and then the person's like
cucumber, and
I forget what they originally thought, and then the guy's like, oh no, that's not like cream cheese or whatever, frosting it, that's mayonnaise. And I'm like, David, take it. You're at a seafood cart and you make unlimited seafood salad sandwiches. Exactly. Mid-century abomination. Yes. David is typing furiously in chat about all of the food crimes that have enraged him, so I'm just gonna pick this up.
One day. So there will be a time when Kay is traveling or Kay has to work and it'll just be you and me. And the whole episode will be about how people do food wrong and how it should be illegal, how they should go straight to jail.
I mean, I would almost say it should be next week, except got Lamia, and that's going to derail you even more than food crimes would. By the way, y'all, next week we've got Mental Lamia coming on. have a
and
YouTube
also
link that
Lamia
is
has
relevant to this conversation. I'm so excited.
right. Um, but also like Lamia also has like things to actually talk about, so I can't
Yes.
spend the whole time ranting about the audacity of the British, the way they fix their mouths to say things about American food. Oh,
Yeah.
and like uh there's a magic item that summons an animal under a certain CR,
Hmm.
and on that list is cows, and it doesn't say where you could summon them, so you could summon them in the air, and then at 200 feet up they hit terminal velocity, so in theory you could just summon cows above your target, and then falling 200 feet, I forget the math on how fast an object falls, but anyway, over a certain period of time eventually those things hit, and because of their size and their speed, there's a calculation formula for how much damage they can do. And so if you summon a cow or somebody
Terminal velocity. Also, that is how you sink ships in D&D. That is full-on
yes,
naval warfare.
right. And
But
it's
can
just
we
like
invite Lamia back to rant about food crimes for an episode?
absolutely. But just imagine like you're on a boat and some wizard stumbles from beneath deck, bottle of rum in hand, and it's like, hey, we're doing combat here, maybe you should be sober for this. He's like, no. And you're like, what did you even do? And then you hear moo, kaboom.
It would be exactly like
Enemy
that.
ship
Moo.
sank.
Moo.
Because the cow is going to panic while it falls.
A calculation. Thank you, Puddle Glum.
Yeah, I know terminal velocity for humans is 120 miles an hour. And the reason I know that is because I was drunk on the 710 in a car doing 120 miles an hour. And that linked 120 miles an hour terminal velocity to that event. Also, the first time I ever heard the song Black Hole Sun. So, jot that down. Wow. 32 feet per second. So, So yeah, it'll take a round for them to fall. I'm not doing the exact math, but it'll take a round. Anyway, the point is, let your players shop for a magic item.
Did you say
because
you
of the shenanigans.
heard the cow before you?
Oh. We're really
Yes.
milking this, aren't we?
It's getting utterly ridiculous.
Pain. Yeah.
Cows have come home to put a hole in your ship.
But
Yes, and like obviously, they might be doing it for the bovine. Obviously, you know, a rapier of alarm is so useful, right? There's all sorts of really cool, but occasionally you'll get people who are just like, yeah, I know there's something else that's optimal, but I get to have fun with this. And then you come up with a ring a barrel. Like, when is this ever going to be useful? Oh, I just broke combat.
all I know is 1,000 feet drop is enough to make a goldfish wild-shaped druid into a blood mist. We're basically gods. Listen, any D&D related conversation that ends with blood mist, I am here for.
And it was a great moment. David, we have some really fun shopkeepers in the campaign, in the setting that we're playtesting. And I haven't even, this time around, met all of them yet.
Yeah.
Like the ones I helped design, I haven't met yet.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because y'all didn't. After this arc, there will be shaman. There will be things. But yeah, like, so yeah, so first off, give your players a chance to shop before you start playing the game. It is a way for your players to get excited to play the game when they have a cool thing that they can research and then think about ways that they can use. Because like everybody's gonna get a long sword or a short sword or a dagger. Not everybody's gonna get a ring of barrels.
Not everyone's gonna get
Not
to
everyone
spread. Not everyone's gonna get to spread their seed.
Yeah.
I summoned a wine geyser with a seed, and it was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, I forgot about that.
I didn't.
And then so you give your players a dungeon, or you give them some sort of reward. You give them a pile of money. You give them stuff that they can sell, and then they got to go find a shop and sell it. We have all, or again, if you haven't yet, you will experience a time when one of your players will be talking to a shopkeeper, a merchant, and it'll be dry and boring and annoying. Where you're like, listen, you can't get this person to sell you a belt of strength for 3 coppers and a handful of fiddle faddle. Like, that's just this not gonna work. Oh, pain.
Lurking Rider just referenced a game that I love. Tip for designing shopkeepers: play the game Moonlighter. Ask yourself the question: hold up, how did they acquire these items? How is the shop being restocked?
Right. Actually, I played Moonlighter. Rest in peace, Game Pass. And I think I finished that in like 3 days. I played that.
They're putting
game.
out a second.
Good. If it's on Game Pass, I will play it. If Game Pass is $40 a month, I will not play it. Ugh. Dear Microsoft, please stop. Because by this time next week, support for Windows 10 will also be sunsetted. Just, dear Microsoft, please stop whatever you're doing. It's not the 90s anymore. You can't be assholes. But yeah, and that's a great point. Like, incentivize your players to not be jackasses in the first place. Like, you know, do what Rex does and have your shopkeepers be ex-merchants, or what Lurking Rider suggested, and have the players go, how did this sort of dragon slaying get here? How do we know it's a sort of dragon slayer? Oh, that one dragon that died 200 years ago, this is the sword that did it. How'd this guy get it? He's looking about 200 years old, about 250 years old. Maybe there's some connection here. And the other,
did anyone else play Quest for Glory or Hero's Quest, depending upon the era you played it? The original, like, point and click. Was an excellent game by Sierra. It was back in the, I'm dating myself, was back in the Exit to DOS era. And you could play as a fighter, a rogue, or a wizard, basically. And it was this wonderful, excellent game. But there were, and depending on which class, there were different parts of the game that you could only access as that class. So, replayability. As a rogue, you had to, like, break into a house and steal something. It's this little old lady's house. And you break in, and she's asleep, and there's this little black cat. And the black cat, like, comes up to you and starts, like, demanding attention, and you can give it a scritch and give it a treat. And spoiler alert for a game that is 30 years old,
30 years old.
probably older. You don't want to see this. Look away now. Cover your ears. If you didn't give the cat, if you were mean to the cat, if you kicked it or you didn't give it a treat, you didn't give it a scritch, it would turn into a fucking panther and eat you. Have a shopkeeper like that.
Right.
Speed runs for Quest for Glory. Yeah, especially Quest for Glory was so old that the speed of the day was tied to the speed of the processor. Time of day was tied to the speed of the processor. So if you got an old copy and just installed it on a modern PC, you couldn't play it because the day would end in 5 minutes. Which is done. Not even 5 minutes, like a minute. Because processors have sped up so much.
But a thing that I don't really see people talk about, because, okay, everybody at some point puts a custom item in their game. Like, there's some weird mechanic, there's some weird MacGuffin, there's some cool doohickey. I personally have written multiple spells, including a spell that I'm very excited to deploy in a game, but we haven't found the right the right place to do it. It involves brunch, and that's all I'm going to say. But no one ever like stocks them in a merchant shop. No one ever like puts them on a shelf so that people can pick them up and look at them and decide if they want to buy them or not. Because you'll be in a dungeon, you'll kill some skeleton, and the skeleton's ribs will explode, and out comes a mallet of something. But make up like 5 quirky magical items. And one of the things that I've done in the past is, well, okay, so probably the first magical item I made was Wand of Magic Missile with Wild Magic. And it wasn't the normal Wild Magic table. There is a now old list of 10,000 magical effects that's floating around online. And so, you do 2 D100 rolls to figure out what the magical effect is. And I have a whole one shot set up back when character creation took hours that you could play while you made your character, where it was basically a bunch of like level 1 peasants who ran around and did things. It was jailbreak. And instead of doing like actual combat, they got Wand of Magic Missile with Wild Magic effect, because Magic Missile doesn't need an attack roll. It just hits. And the damage roll is pretty low and pretty easy. So you put a bunch of like level 1 characters in it, and you're just one-shotting guards. But also every time you cast, you're like, hey, roll me 2 D100s. And then they give you a number, and then you either tell them what happened, or even better, you don't. But make like 5 quirky items, put them on a shelf, stick them in a place where your players are gonna go sell stuff. And it's running shopping as a GM is tough, because you don't want to enrich your players too much. Because if they hit one dungeon, they come back and they got $1 million, then what incentive do they have to continue with the adventure? Because I don't know about you, but if I went and fought a Minotaur and a gelatinous cube and scared the piss out of myself, and then came back out with a doohickey and sold that thing for $500,000, I'm not going back into that dungeon. I'm putting that in a S&P 500 index fund, and I'm living off the interest. Like, I'm investing.
over at Weird Wild's War, we went to a shop that was very clearly like counterfeit or like not good magic items. And it would be like a ring of visibility. Put it on and you were still visible, right? But they were all, and it was really fun because we had someone who could do, identify. And so having these really interesting, like, there was a set of boots. I don't remember exactly what they did, but it was like, what he said they did was like technically true, but it was definitely not the magic item you immediately think it is. And it was so fun to be dealing with this wheeling and dealing scam artist, magic item seller, and then like also being like, okay, so what in here is actually good? Is there anything in here that's actually useful? And it became like a challenge of how many things can we find and identify before this guy realizes that we're onto him and kicks us out.
But yeah, like it is another opportunity to go wild with the creativity and seeing how said creativity will break your game and enrich the experience for your players. And we often talk about rowing the boat in the same direction as everybody else. Shopping episodes are also part of that. If you are a player and you have stuff that you want to sell, and the GM has like built a merchant with lore and a backstory and has like prices and whatnot set up, like, yes, go in, haggle, but like, don't try to like dick over the merchant. Don't try to dick over your GM, because if you're trolling in a session that is already focused on one person at a time, and not the whole thing, but like one person is going to be talking to the shopkeep about this particular item at a time or trying to sell a thing, trolling and drawing that out isn't fun for other people. Like, as a general rule, if you are over the age of 18 and you are actively frustrating people, and the person that you're actively frustrating isn't having a good time, maybe stop it. Maybe quit it.
Boots with the fur. Once per day, roll a D100. DC equals your survival or below, and have a chance to have a small coniferous tree start growing from one of your footprints. I love it.
Apple bottom jeans, once per day, have a 1d4 chance to spawn an apple in your pocket.
And like, if you are going to troll in shopping sessions, like, have it be very character, because I don't think you were in the game at this point, David, but we were playing post nights, and our paladin wanted new armor, and like, half plate's expensive, y'all. Half plate's really expensive. And we were going to, like, we were post nights, we worked for the organization that was also selling, it was like the commissary. And my dumbass bard, Kinley, really wanted to impress and really wanted to keep the big, strong paladin tiefling safe. Had the brilliant idea of, I cleared it with the GM beforehand, went in and cast the Acquisitions Inc. Inflate or reduce value to make it look like one of the pauldrons on this was dented. So we got a discount so that the paladin could actually afford it. Cast it well enough that like the guy running the commissary didn't notice that it was a magic spell and let us go. But also, the paladin was not observant enough to know what my character had done. So as far as he was concerned, oh, no, Kinley talked me into buying a dented paladin, or a pauldron. But then the dent went away magically because it was never actually there. And Tiefling didn't notice. It's just made it that much more funny. So, if you're going to troll, do it in character and do it in an interesting way. And also, like, clear it with the party. Because it could have gone really bad had we gotten caught trying to cheat, shortchange our bosses. We needed folks on board. Half plate of the Dawn Martyr. Literally half a decorative plate with an image of Pelor on it.
And that's another thing is like when it comes to loot, and different GMs approach loot differently. Like some GMs will be like, this player gets this player gets that, etc. And like that's it. Others are like, you find this, which of you take it. And depending on your group and depending on the item, that can be a good way to approach it. Except if I'm cooking up either an item that I selected specifically for a find or an item specifically for a character, then I'm going to just give it to that character. Because I find that just pulling off of a roll table is a little too chaotic and can often be really unsatisfying. Like if you get like a dagger of sneak attack and you're a paladin, it's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna sell this then. It's fine. Meanwhile, the rogue is like, I wonder if there's anybody who could use that. And then if the paladin is a dick, it's like, well, it's mine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go sell it. You could buy it from the guy I sell it to.
Yeah.
And so it helps to avoid that sort of thing.
And yeah, David, how do you decide what magic items are stocked in your stores?
So I always try to come up with 2 or 3 ridiculous things that no one will ever buy. Like
and then
silly.
Kay buys them.
And then Kay, or actually another player I think of would two players I think of would absolutely buy them. And not just buy them, but overpay for them. But and this is also why I prefer to do milestone XP rather than, because one, milestone encourages other ways to address problems other than combat, because with combat XP it's like you only get XP when you kill things.
Rex says Centaur of Attention summons an illusion of a centaur who's causing a ruckus.
I have to put that in the game. I'm really mad about it.
Now I really want to play a cowgirl centaur.
The way I would immediately stick a horse race in that game. The way I would make that horse race central to the plot.
No, she can't enter because she's not a horse. She's a cow.
Right. Your backstory is some evil guy has eaten your whole family. Like just cow centaur steaks on the grill. But yeah, so you put a couple ridiculous items in, and then when you're planning story beats and leveling, you're also, so I always have the last encounter in mind. Like when Kay and I do the charity games, or when we did Godplane, one of the first things we did was we envisioned what the final battle would look like. Oh, Space Cowboy. I really feel like a Cowboy Bebop game set in Starfinder would be a good time.
Especially to me.
But yeah. Um, but and so when you're keeping that in mind, you're also keeping in mind equipping your players not just in levels but in itemization towards that final battle, so that you can make it as big and as epic and as complicated and as ridiculous as you want it to be. And then you're also going to give them the MacGuffin that they need in order to defeat the big evil.
So I had a GM. Those of you who watched Chalice, first episode that I was in of Chalice, me and my character and their partner, the wardens, we show up and they're like, "Hey, you've got to try to bring in a fugitive who's a great big guy. We've got these new things. They're little brass tubes with a plunger, and you hit the back, and it hits out this foam ball. It's about the size of a golf ball, and then it rapidly expands and hardens, and it's basically like an 8-foot cement ball that once it hardened, like nothing's getting in or out, and it is full size within like 2 rounds. It was the key to stopping the big bad at the end of that arc. We didn't use it on the player character that we were supposed to use it on, but we were able to use those to stick a big, giant, like 20-foot baddie to the ground so they couldn't go through a portal that we needed to keep them out of. And it felt really good to be like, we have a use. And GM's going to be pissed because I still have one.
Ooh, yeah, like that's the thing. You give your party an arrow of dragon slaying. You better have planned that dragon, because you're gonna forget, and then you're gonna put a dragon there, and then you're gonna go be like, boop, and then your dragon is dead, and then you're gonna be like, God damn it. And you did it to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you're keeping this itemization in mind as you build towards the final conflict. So that said, you're putting things in places where players can pick up the items that they need. But to add an additional layer to that, and to answer Kay's question of how do I decide what's there, I think of, okay, so they need these 4 things for the final thing, so they're going to get those. But what would make things easier, or what would overcome an obstacle I put in front of them much easier? And it could be something as simple as in one of the games that I run, there's a big guy that that is the security at the door to the entrance to the Thieves Guild. And he's big and he's dumb, but he's also on duty 14 hours a day. And so one of my players was like, I bet he's hungry. And then went and got a chicken, gave it to him. And now they're buddies. They are, but like every time he walks past, he's like, I got snacks for you. And dude's like, great, give me snacks. I'm hungry. I've been out here all fucking day. And now the whole party can come and go as they please in the Thieves Guild, because the door guy's not going to stop them. Hello. And it is something as simple as sticking, and what I have found is that I am very interested in food, both in real life and in my D&D games. And so if you play one of my games, there's going to be an important food element. Look, if you don't like food, don't come to my table, because we're gonna spend half an hour talking about food at one point. Not every session, not every other session, but at some point there's going to be a half an hour discussion about food, and you gotta be ready for that. And if you just want to like throw hands and hit stuff with swords and stuff, not my table, because we're gonna be talking about cooking, okay? We're gonna be talking about feeding orphans. I can't imagine running a game where an orphan doesn't get fed. But it is something as simple as I stuck a food cart relatively nearby that they walked past, and then they bought food, and then that immediately turned into something that they could use to leverage. So when it comes to, and that's the other thing about merchants, is merchants doesn't just have to be magic item shop. And one of the things that I really like that they include in the description of long rests is you aren't just asleep the whole time. You use that time to do other normal stuff. You maintain your armor, you sharpen your sword. Um, uh, there was a Critical Role campaign where Liam played a fighter and he used his downtime to like do push-ups and shit. Um, but and Kay and I have talked about resource tracking before. And resource tracking is annoying and pedantic in most cases. Like, if you're on the road and you've been on the road for 2 weeks, then yeah, you need to keep track of your food. But if you're in a city, like if you're resting in a tavern and the marketplace is a 10-minute walk away, we're not going to be like, did you remember to get food? Did you remember to buy your arrows? Like, you're professional adventurers. If you have a bow, you know it needs arrows. If you have money, during your downtime, you're going to stop and buy arrows. And you might even buy arrows from like a particular vendor that makes really good arrows. And that's something that you could role play. But as a general rule, when Kay and I GM, we assume that your character knows how to wipe his own ass and to buy bread for the day's travels. So, you're going to get like within reason, you're going to get your spell components and shit. But even though I have a merchant that is a spell component shop, which I am very much in love with, it's not the only thing. There's another like curiosity shop that we have. There is obviously an active like food market. There's a really cool bookstore, which Kay and I collaborated with one of our players to really flesh out. And now there's like a whole line of romance novels in said bookstore. And like, give your players more than just, I go to the blacksmith to buy armor. I go to, the weaponsmith to, there's also a fence. And in both the home game I run and the test game that we're running, the fence actually plays a kind of crucial role in how the story unfolds. And the fence is also a good place to put your non-orthodox things, because a fence to a certain extent will buy anything. And if they'll buy anything, they'll sell you anything. And so you can really kind of go nuts with what quote unquote anything is.
So I'm reading this off because Lurking Writer, I know how much this is going to hurt David, and I'm so excited. An NPC, a deer tar, cowboy, girl, Inby. Their name is Rodeo. Later, the players find out they're the god of wrangling, and they've been hurting the group to get to all the plot points.
That's painful. You know what? The next My Little Pony game you run, there are 5 clones of this NPC, so the second time the players meet them, they could say, "This is not my first rodeo." Oh my god.
Moscow, the mule, carries up to 500 pounds of items for the party, but distributes them equally to all NPCs in need. Which, if you played Graveyard Keeper.
Yeah. Which is just a fucking great game.
Yes. Excellent.
At this point, it is such an ancient meme. Everybody knows about the potion seller. To the point whereby there have been, I think, at least 2 RPG games that had some variation of the meme in the game. But like, that's another really great merchant store, is because you could put, look, if you've played Baldur's Gate 3 and you play on any of the harder modes other than just like the default, you know how crucial popping a potion at a particular time could be in a combat. Because if you're not giving Karlak the potion of hill giant strength, you're playing it wrong. And I will not have you disrespecting our mother in such a way. But just potions is one of those things where you could just be like, I'm gonna cook up whatever. It's gonna do all sorts of stupid shit, and then put like a ridiculous price tag on it, make it like 25 gold, and be like, this lasts 2 rounds. Sometimes, ask any man, 2 rounds is all you need. 12 seconds, plenty of time. I go twice. In some cases, depending on your level, you go 4 times.
I'm reminded of the Deadpool. What do we do with the other?
Right. What do we do with all the time we have left? So, especially when it comes to merchants, like, wow. Oh, you're a good boy.
Beans.
But especially when it comes to merchants, like, have a diversity of merchants that fleshes out your NPCs. You have different NPCs that can give different information to your party, and it really adds to the texture of your world. And another thing about shops is have shops that your players don't need. I actually have a file in my email of a list of shops that at no point in time my players will ever want to go into, with the names of the merchants, including there's a rope maker. I actually found an excuse for the wine shop. There was another like random one, but in my games I also put guilds. So like, you know, Masons Guild, Carpentry Guild, Leather Workers Guild, Artisans Guild, Scribes Guild, Cartographers Guild. Is that like, what is the name of that show where they go to the storage units and then they auction off the storage unit and then open the storage unit?
Like Storage Wars.
Yeah, Storage Wars.
Yeah.
That really sounds like Storage Wars with like extra steps, with more explicit dead bodies, because you can't watch Storage Wars and see some of the stuff that they dig out of there and not think this person's been dead for like 10 years.
Yeah. Also, like, have unusual, unexpected merchants. And, like, I actually think that Baldur's Gate did a pretty good job of this with the little tiefling kids who were, like, a little bit scammy, right? Have an orphan who wants to sell you a basic-ass brass ring for a gold, and your party's like, this isn't worth it, but, like, it's an orphan kid. Like, sure, right? If you do the nice thing, you get this shitty ring, but then later the kid does have a magic ring, and he's not going to sell it to you if you didn't buy it at first, right? Like, if you've got if you find the army of pickpocket orphans, maybe be nice to them, and maybe you could put it, what's the story of the guy who was feeding the crows and the crows started bringing him money? And he's like, I'm not going to discourage this because they have clearly understood what's happening, and that means they're stealing from people and bringing the money to me. But like, you get the little orphan kids on board, and it's all like, hey, I'm looking for a dagger that looks like this. You know it's on a noble somewhere in the city.
Right.
Those orphan kids are going to find it. You just tell them, I'll give you 10 gold if you bring me that. You're going to get you a fucking dagger.
Right. Now, there might be a noble dead in an alley somewhere, but that's not really your problem.
Exactly.
Someone else's problem.
You didn't ask for that to happen. You just ask, if you find this dagger, let me know because I'll pay you for it.
But like the wine cellar, like you can go to any. Actually, I've had a wine merchant and a beer merchant in my games, and the beer merchant launched the biggest quest line in the history of games I've run. And the wine merchant is actually a really important central figure in the character's understanding of local politics. Um, Even though he doesn't necessarily know that he's that important, and also like he also doesn't understand how important he is to local politics and like how important his family is. But that will be a thing that both he and the party figure out later.
Cheesemonger.
Cheesemonger.
Fun fact. There is, I forget the name of it, but there's this awesome site that will let you kind of regenerate cities, and you can do some small edits, but it breaks really, really easily. And we're using it for the home game that we're playing. Hey, Krezicon, welcome on in. And we used it for the city. My GM used it for the cities in Chalice as well. And as we're like going through, and he sent us, these huge, beautiful maps, and we're kind of poking through, and we're like, is that? And there's like the poor area of town. We're like trying to figure out how we're gonna get out, where are we gonna go, and someone's like, "Is that Cheese Street?" The GM's like, "Yep." That was auto-populated on the map. I was going through and changing the names of all this stuff, and I was like, you know what? No. And the delight we had of like, we're gonna go to Cheese Street. Why? Why do you think? Right? Like, hey, now that I'm in the city, it's great. It's nice visiting you in your home. Now that I'm in the city, like I'm craving a snack. Maybe something that goes nicely with crackers and wine. And just the amount of fun we had. And he's like, obviously we know what's being sold there, and we know the history of it. But it's even more fun when you realize that's no longer the Cheese Street, because that had to be moved out of the city because the city expanded. And it's called Cheese Street because that's where the cheesemongers used to live. But now they don't. But that name is still stuck. And then you get your whole party pissed that you can't go to Cheese Street and get cheese.
Yep. And it's funny because there's like real life corollaries to that. Because over my time in Los Angeles, I spent a fair bit of time downtown. I've had a couple of friends who live downtown. There's a winery down there that I've gone to frequently. And when you're driving around, you see streets like Olive and Vine and it's like, this used to be farmland.
Mm-hmm.
This used to be olive groves. And that's why the street is named Olive. Now,
Cheese Golem is a possibility.
Yeah, you can make a golem out of pretty much anything. You can make it into a vegetable garden. Oh man, I finally watched Delicious in Dungeon, and I'm so mad that season 2 is not out yet. Ooh wee. There are so many things in that. Oh my god. There are so many things in that anime that were already in games that I was running that I was just like, why is this man peeking at my notes? Like, Google, have you shared my information?
That's me every time a new D&D book comes out.
Right. The number of times, I think it was like 3 books straight where Kay was like, here's a mechanic or an item or a thing that I'm thinking of. And then the book comes out and it's in there. And I managed to do it once because I had a character.
Background.
Yep.
You with your teeth.
Right. I had a dude who was really into collecting teeth. We're not going to say how he collected teeth in Minecraft, but he collected teeth. And I was like, yeah, he's got a bag of teeth. And then Wild Beyond the Witchlight comes out, and one of your starting items is a bag of teeth. I was like, these motherfuckers saw me coming.
Like, what's some weird Fae shit? David's like, Fae? What?
Right. The old Marge Simpson meme. I just think they're neat. But yeah, so like, don't just put stores that players will absolutely buy stuff from, and give them an excuse to like, go and do stuff. Like, I had players who were going to a masquerade ball and they needed outfits. so they had to go buy clothes. Or there was a chocolatier nearby, and one of the players was walking by and be like, well, we don't need chocolate, and it's really expensive. And then the next thing you know, he's got an orphan army.
Yeah.
They're all smeared with chocolate and they have knives, but it's an orphan army.
Well, and think about the fun, like, give your players and their characters those moments of impulse by whimsy that we have. Because, like, the dust of deliciousness in campaign 2 of Critical Role is so iconic that Matt was like, this is a throwaway item. And Marisha Ray destroyed him with it. And like a wand of smiles where you can just force someone to smile. Do you know how much damage I would have done if Kinley had gotten their hands on a wand of smiles and could have pointed it at Kessler?
And what's particularly hilarious is in one of the mechanics in Wild Behind the Wishlight is you either lose something or give something up the first time you go. And Kessler gave up his smile. And it was so long ago that he didn't know that he didn't smile anymore. And so if Kinley had turned that on him, it might have killed him. He might have just fallen over dead.
But even if that weren't the case, just being able to force someone to smile, being able to have little mini sparklers and fireworks, like I tend to play little pack rat characters, right? Who loved, like Kinley was always walking around with just souvenirs and bracelets and trinkets that they would leave around because they kind of found themselves by wandering off the path. So they wanted to find beautiful places off the beaten path and leave a little reward so that anyone who went there would be like, oh, maybe I should wander off the path more often. And being able to give your players little odd ways to express themselves like that. You know, there's a perfumery and you find out that the grizzled fucking like fighter loves this one particular scent and forever smells of that particular scent because you've got players will take those moments and run with them. So be sure to give them those opportunities where they can just do something weird and fun with what seems like a throwaway item and then watch them use it against you.
Definitely watch them use it against you. And also do not underestimate the power of whimsy in a game built on whimsy. Mm-hmm. Because for those of you who played, and I'm sorry if you still do, play World of Warcraft, for certain events, they have fireworks, and there are different fireworks for different events. Now, if you did what I did, is you got as many as you could over the course of the event, and then you waited 6 months, and then you post them on the auction house for an exorbitant amount of money. And the amount of money that people in a game in virtual currency would pay for a thing that just shot into the sky and made like pretty lights was extravagant, exorbitant, ridiculous. And the number of people where it was their whole mission to do something like stupid and simple, like an easy like 10-man raid, and then get to the end of it and go, all right, everybody, we're going to celebrate, and then start popping these things off. And you could see that each and every one of these things that they popped off was like 10,000 gold. It was just like so much fucking money. And they're like, yay, we did it. It was fun. Like, do not underestimate people's investment in whimsy. And again, that adds to the texture of your game. It adds to your world, and it makes it more engaging for your players.
And Lurking Rider says, small correction, Laura Bailey as Jester destroyed Matt and won D&D, which is true. Rex Verde says, there was a bakery that was a whimsy center in a campaign I played. It was great. Yeah, like how many Critical Role characters have threatened to retire and run a bakery? Right, like throw in that whimsy. And also, don't forget, there's another type of merchant that we have not spoken about yet. And David has a touch of this in. Throw in some fortune tellers. And not every fortune has to be doom and gloom, end of the world. Like if you know that you're getting ready to take them to a bar and you're going to have an attractive person in there, be like, oh, maybe maybe romance is in your future, or like, oh, keep an eye, do something really ominous, like the blue flower that blooms at midnight will guide the way. And then people find this blue flower that's under the moon, and you're like, oh shit, and you get it, and then you like run into this young woman who's like, my fiance just died, and that was his favorite flower. And that's the connect. Like, throw in, like, yes, have your scary doom and gloom. I know your character, I know your future predictions, but have the fun ones as well. And have the bullshit ones. Have the utter bullshit. I'm seeing a name that starts with D. Is there a D? Is there,
Right. It's like, here, let me read your poem. And then like they draw a red streak down, and it's like, okay, well, this red streak indicates. And Kay and I have an NPC that both is and masquerades as a fortune teller. And we've yet to be able to deploy them in our test game, but I'm really looking forward to it. And then also, when a fixture of games that I run is in the first episode, in the first session, there is a prediction that is given to each player. And I'm going to spoil my reputation for being a disorganized asshole a little bit here. But I put a timer. And it could be 10 sessions, it could be 15 sessions, it could be 20 sessions. But there is a length of time where I am sure the player will forget that about this prediction. And then bam, there it is. And it shows up and they're like, kaboom. And not every player who plays in my games takes notes. And if you don't take notes in my game, that's fine. However, combo, there's always one player in my game that takes all of the notes. They will not be named. And I have had players write down someone else's prediction. And then when the other player runs into their fortune, the note taker is like, hey, wasn't there something about this 20 sessions ago? Flip, 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 flip. Hey, do you remember when so-and-so said this to you? This is that thing.
Yes. Yeah, the Taroka deck in the Black Die Society was amazing. I tried to turn and grab my Taroka deck, but it's not there right now. So, but yeah, I have 100%. Being the note taker, this is not an item thing, but I was in a game, and it was a point when I was playing like 4 to 5 sessions a week. And the game that this was in had gone on hiatus for 8 months. And the GM starts talking about like a knock, knock, knock. And we're like going through it, and he's like, yeah, you hear, she taps her face, wraps her knuckle on the thing 3 times, knock, 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 knock. And I'm like, oh, that's so familiar. That it must have been another name. And then 10 minutes later, I realized that same thing happened to another player in a scene I was not in before the 8-month break. And I didn't know how they were connected, but I fucking did. And the look of glee on my GM's face. So do note taking. It's great. It really is great. We are nearing our time. So, chat, do you have anything else you would like to bring up? Any questions? Any last-minute psychic damage puns you would like to inflict on David? David, any final thoughts on shopkeepers? And I might throw out, David, what do you do when someone's magic item actually does break your game?
You sigh, you pinch your nose, and then you either take a 10-minute break and try to like get yourself back on track, or you end the session. And here's the thing: if you prep and you got stuff, and you run out of stuff, say to your players, "Hey, you got through this faster than I thought I would. I haven't planned out the. We're gonna wrap it here, and then like come back, and then your whole crew can then just go play League of Legends or something. Like, it is okay to be like, oh, I don't know where we're going for here, and I need time to figure it out.
Why did the bovine centaur run away? They were cowardly. Well done, DC. Thank you.
And my final point for shopkeepers in your games is, as a GM, make sure that you make it fun for you. It could be building an NPC that you really like. It could be making a magical item that you're really proud of or you think would be fun for the players to use, and then you stick it in your store and you make it super cheap, so they're like, well, of course I'm going to buy it. Oh god, I just remembered a terrible joke that I'm going to tell Kay when we are off stream.
So excited.
And Kay is going to hate it. Because they lacked
Why was the dairy cow tar so bad at dancing? They lacked hopes. So pleased. Just imagine this, but this one playing default Dan. It's going to be great.
But definitely include something in it that makes it entertaining for you. Because personally, some of my favorite episodes, or some of my favorite sessions, have been shopping, where the players interact with the merchant NPCs that I've made, and there's a whole rivalry between two of the shops across the market from one another, and I love having the players go back and forth between these two, where one guy is just really pissed off at the other person, and the other person's like, who is that? Why are they mad? I don't even notice that they're mad. I'm just doing my thing here. Would you like to buy a cell phone? Like, and
yes. They can be great quest givers.
Right. And that's the other thing. It's like, you can have some really, there could be a lot of deep lore involved with your merchants. Like, one of our merchants is a front for the Thieves Guild. And it's not even the fence. And the fence knows, but no one else knows. And then, we have one of those like super powerful former adventurers who's now running a merchant shop, but is actually on several quests of their own. One is on one and the other one's on two. And so you walk in and they're working on a thing, and then they have to stop working on the thing that is going to like slay some god or destroy some dimension, and they put it away to sell you arrows. Like, and stuff like that I find really interesting. And then your players digging into that and learning about your NPC's backstory and getting invested in that, and maybe even like trying to help, all again add richness and depth to the world, which again goes back to our conversations about characters and NPCs, in that make sure that your NPCs have lives of their own, where they have fears, they have needs, and they have desires, and they have goals independent of your player characters.
And if a player doesn't keep track of their inventory, but you do as the GM, randomly move items out of said inventory without telling them, when they later think to use something, say it's faded away because they clearly lacked object permanence. Don't actually do that, but it's very funny.
So something I did in one of like the first games I ran is, so in the very first game I played, we had a character who stole from other party members, which I fucking hate. I fucking hate that so much. And the GM was like, well, you haven't noticed that this person is stealing from you. And I'm like, this is even worse because I can't turn and bop the person.
Right.
And then we got into a fairly serious combat with like hundreds of enemies. And one of our characters went to reach for something, and the person had stolen it, and it wasn't there. And then that character died. And at that point, like, all of us were like, listen, we don't care what you got to do with this character, but fuck your character. Like Like, we will beat you up in real life.
Yeah.
Like we will give you the full Gomer pile. We know where you sleep.
Yeah.
But one thing I did in one of the first games I ran was reverse pickpocketing. And so I had someone, I had an NPC steal something, and then they were going to get in trouble for that. And so they stuck it into one of the players' bags and ran away. And then the players got stopped by guards. And they're like, hey, we know you got this thing. And they're like, what are you talking about? We don't even know what this thing is. It's like, well, we're going to look through your bags. And they're like, of course you could look through our bags because we don't have it. And then I looked at the players and I was like, so remember when I had you roll perception like 2 sessions ago? And they're like, yeah. I was like, and I didn't tell you what it was for. And they're like, yeah. And remember there was this like one little, I think it was a halfling character that like y'all were hanging out with. And you're like, yeah. It's like, he snuck that into your bags. And they're like, and I'm like, yeah, got him. Boom.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Competing merchants can have multi-generational beefs with each other and operate on different sides of town. Even more funny when you have like one really long-lived merchant and the other are like shorter. And so like the same feud has been going on with this one person, but for generations on this side. But for this person, it's just that one fucking family.
Like, I hated your daddy. I hated your granddaddy. I hated your great-granddaddy. I hated your great-great-great-grand-aunt. Fuck all of them. It's like, damn, what did we even do? Your great-great-great-great-grandfather scammed me for a deal, and he still owes me 5 silver, 34 copper. And until I get that money back, fuck him.
But I want it with interest.
Right. It's like, but that's a castle by now. Give me the castle.
Yes.
Here's a jar. Put it in the jar.
And with that, I think we are going to wrap up. I will, again, not be available for Weird Wild's War on Friday. I am unsure if they're going to be playing. We left off in the middle of combat. It's a real bad time. On the 15th, Emergency Power Podcast, Season 4, Episode 1 premieres. If you are a supporter on our Patreon, you can get that tomorrow, a week early, as well as access to our Talkbat Afterburner after show. Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel right here. We are going to have Mentallamia on talking about packs and additional things. And I think... And then Saturday, David's going to be playing something, it sounds like.
Yep.
Either South Midnight or Default Dan, or a combination of the two. As always, thank you all for hanging out. This has been a delight. Thank you to Rex for resubbing for 38 months. That is redonkulous. I will say it again. You are so appreciated. Thank you all for hanging out, for your support, for coming by to support David on Saturday. We met all of the goals, and there are rewards and good things coming on that. David, who the heck is you, and what the heck has we been doing here?
As I said on the Discord, I am incredibly moved by all of you, by the community that you and Kay has put together, and especially big thank you to Kay, because I think about the past year and all of the good things that have happened, and almost all of them are exclusively Kay's fault, so blame Kay. But I'm David, and this has been, is, and will be the Chaotic Wholesome Tuesday Table Talk show, where every week we talk about TTRPG stuff, how to be a better player, how to be a better GM, how restaurants should not have just digital menus, they need to have real menus. And I'm very torn about this, but that is a rant for another time. But how to be a better person, all with a focus on intersectionality and inclusivity so that everybody can have a good time.
And Rex says this was a punishing episode, but they thank us for the show. Anyway. Yes, there will be many a PAX Unplugged panel. We hope to see you there. If you cannot make it, you will be missed. But thank you all again. We will see you next time we're going to find someone to raid. But as always, be kind to yourself, be excellent to others, and thank you genuinely for all of the kindness you have shown us. Talk to y'all soon. Thank you again. Bye.